Have you ever taken down a protective style and seen this? A thick white blanket covering the hair and the scalp? Most people panic and think that it's fungus, but the truth is it's a lot more complicated. This is months of buildup that your scalp and your body, your scalp's microbiome has been producing for months. So what you're seeing is major buildup, because while your hair is braided up, your skin cell turnover cycle and all of the other things that naturally happen on your body is still happening. Yes, weaves are great protective styles, but it doesn't put your body's natural systems on pause just because you have one. Your body still produces oil, sweat, and dead skin that it sheds almost every single day. So when all of those things are shedding every day and they get trapped, they mash up together and they create its own type of ecosystem. It creates its own type of ecosystem as it's mixed in there with the oils and the greases and the butters and the water and all of the different things that you're mixing in this little slurry. That is what has created that thick white or yellow amber colored film. It looks dramatic, but it's actually very common to people who follow certain patterns and routines. So let's talk about what's really in all of that buildup. Because most people think that that white film is just product or dead skin, but no. This is a microenvironment that has been building for weeks, maybe even months, maybe even 6 months. Inside of this excess, you'll normally find sweat, excess dead skin cells, lint or fiber debris, the overnight growth of different forms of yeast, bacteria, parasites that live on the scalp normally. And you'll even have debris from the microscopic Demodex mites that live on the scalp. I taught you about it in this video here. Demodex mites are, just for a little recap, Demodex mites are these small little parasites that live within the human hair follicle all over your body, from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. But it's not on places like the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet or your elbows or in these places where there are no sebaceous glands. But they're these little critters and they eat sebum, right? What if I told you that right now, as we speak, you have parasites within your hair's follicle? Demodex follicularum. Demodex follicularum is a parasite that lives inside of the human hair follicle, and today we're going to talk about how most likely the overgrowth of this parasite within the hair's follicle is what's causing the burning, the itching, the swelling, the balding, the thinning, the scabs, and so many other scalp issues that we look at as CCCA, telogen effluvium, folliculitis, and so many other forms of alopecia. So if you want to learn more about this parasite that lives in your scalp and on your eyelashes, then make sure you keep watching to the end of this video. Don't eat anything. Don't be eating food or anything while you're watching this video because it's gross. So first, what is a parasite? Most people would say, what? I have parasites? Yes, right now you have parasites on the scalp, which is why I always say that absolutely nothing goes on the scalp except for shampoo and conditioner unless you're trying to cure an infection, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, what in the hell is this? Demodex is a parasite, and I know that that word like freaks a whole lot of people out, but what is a parasite? A parasite is simply classified as a living organism that lives inside of another living organism. So as you can see here on this video, it is living and moving right now as we speak within your hair's follicle. So what is it and what is it doing? Now, this is a parasite that lives on the human body, and it makes our hair follicles on our scalp and on our eyelashes specifically their home. And what are they there for? Well, they are there to eat sugar. Now, this parasite loves the human hair follicle. And why? Because its favorite food is sebum. So what it does, it finds the follicle, right? And it burrows itself inside of the hair's follicle, and it feeds off of the sebum that is coming directly out of the hair's follicle. Now, they range between 0.15 and 0.4 millimeters. They have elongated bodies, 8 legs, and a head, but they don't have no booty hole. Now, these mites feed on the human skin, especially your dead skin cells. And this part is gonna freak you out. They are most active at night, where they come to the surface of your skin. But guess what? At night, when you go to sleep, they come on your scalp and they eat sebum, they lay their eggs, they have their babies, and at some point they explode. So a lot of this debris that you see on the scalp that you think is dry flakes and things of that nature are actually exploded Demodex mites. So within this little slurry, right? Within this little slurry that you're looking at, these little things have exploded and dried and died, and now they laid to the side of her cape. That's nasty. I hope you threw it away. And I know this is gonna sound gross, but it's the truth. If you're putting layers of oil and grease and things of that nature on the scalp, whenever they come up and they explode and they die, their eggs, their bodies, and all of their waste, their residue, all of those things, they live on the human scalp. Demodex mite is a parasite. I know it's freaking you guys out right now, but a parasite is something that needs another living organism to live. It's a living organism that needs another living organism to live. So it needs you. It's not there to hurt you, but if you allow your body and your scalp's microbiome to be off balance, then girl, it's gonna hurt you. And it's yo, that's a funeral. That was a funeral on her scalp. That was a funeral. So what you're looking at right now is basically a biological buildup that has been taking place on the human scalp over a long period of time. One said over 6 months. So this is 6 months of a biological buildup on the scalp. So let's talk about why you should never let it get this bad. I understand things happen in people's lives and things of that nature, but for me, a sew-in is one of those styles that you sit down, you think about, and you make a commitment. Before you agree to do it, you really sit down with yourself and think about if whether or not it's something that you can really gauge, if whether or not it's something that you can really do. Because one of the most important parts about having a sew-in or any type of hair extensions is maintenance. If you don't have maintenance, a protective style will be as far away from protective as one could possibly be. It's like K-tips. Everybody's doing K-tips now. There is a small percentage of people who should do K-tips. Out of all of the different people that you see in a room, if there are 100 women in a room, only about maybe 50%, maybe about 15% of those women actually are candidates for K-tips. If you get K-tips, you have to have extremely healthy hair. Not hair that's being repaired, not hair that's on its way to being good. Your hair has to be extremely healthy. You need to only be doing it because you want some length or some density. You just trying to be cute. But if you don't have healthy hair, it shouldn't be a thing. So when buildup gets to a certain level, it can cause a lot of different problems. The follicles get clogged, inflammation can end up developing, the redness, the tenderness to touch. Bacteria can grow, and then the scalp will become really, really inflamed and itchy, and again, sore to touch. And of course, the entire detangling process becomes extremely difficult, hard, painful, and causing a whole lot of hair loss. In extreme cases, it can lead to folliculitis or extreme cases of shedding and hair loss, different forms of traction alopecia. After a protective style, I can give you some tea free of charge real quick. after you take down the protective style for years on top of years on top of years on social media, they taught you that the thing that you're supposed to do is pick up water and spray it down or get some conditioner. I don't care what your favorite hairstylist said, that's the worst thing you can do. Because if you go ask anybody's grandma, well, not anybody's grandma, because some of y'all grandmas be telling y'all to do that stupid stuff too, but if you go talk to any like real life cosmetologist, they'll tell you, like, when you get done taking out, let's say, individuals, the worst thing you can do is take your individuals out, not comb your hair at all, and just go straight to the shampoo bowl without combing your hair out. Every place that it was an individual braid will be a lock. You'll get instant locks not combing your hair right after you take your box braids out. And so for that reason, you have to really understand you're not detangling with water. If washing your hair right after you take braids out is going to cause it to mat, why would you spray it down with a water bottle to detangle your hair? Or if your hair is going to mat up the second you put water on it when you're trying to take after you take your braids out, before you comb it out, then why would you use a product that was made with water? That makes no sense, right? When we talk about detangling the hair, we want to do something, we want to use something that's going to cause slip. The reason that you use water, or the reason that you use products that are made with water, is because water breaks the hydrogen bond. It paralyzes the hair. So if your hair is feeling stiff and stuff at first, once you paralyze it, it feels more limp, and you confuse being limp with being flexible. Those are two completely different things, right? If somebody can put their leg all the way up here and they flexible so they can get through different scenarios, I can get through the side of a window pane or like through a crack in a wall because I'm flexible, I can fit, versus me being paralyzed, right? If I'm paralyzed, yeah, I can fit through easier. If somebody's carrying me through, it may be a little easier for them to drag me. If I don't want to go, to handle me is gonna be easier if I'm paralyzed. That don't make no sense. I'm protected all the time. I don't be getting no ideas. But I would be easier to manipulate, or a person would be easier to take advantage of if they're paralyzed. But being paralyzed and not able to move, and your instructional integrity being depleted is not the same thing as being flexible and able to move without breaking. Those are two completely different things. When you wet the hair, you're breaking the bond and you're paralyzing it. When you use the oil to detangle, you are making your hair more flexible. There's a difference. Somebody put it in the chat or in the comments, flexibility versus being paralyzed. It's two completely different things. Being flexible versus being paralyzed, they're two completely different things. This is where we have to understand. And if you can understand the difference between being flexible and being paralyzed, the detangling process will be easier. When you detangle your hair and you lose a bunch of hair like this, it's because your hair is paralyzed. It loses its flexibility. Your hair doesn't have flexibility when it's paralyzed. That's why you can comb through it and it breaks, and people got clusters and balls and hair in their hand. But when you do it like this, hopefully I'll put a clip right here. You've seen it before, but for the people who haven't, she learned through the Verdant Code, she learned through my courses how to detangle her hair and decrease and minimize shedding through a certain type of pattern and routine.
What I've seen from the challenge, just from providing feedback, is it works. My hair, I have not put anything on my scalp since January. This is now end of March, and my hair is shiny. It is thickened up. Now it's a little thinner. It looks because it's a silk press, but when I blow dry my hair, it is thickened up. I mean, people are just looking at me like, what are you doing to your hair? And I've always taken good care of my hair, but it has never thrived like this. Also had a lot of shedding, and I posted in the group, again, if you're in the replay or come later in around March, just follow my posts. I literally have no shed. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I actually am going to do a comparison from January where I had like, you know, a lot of hate. A minuscule amount of hair. So just kind of stay with it.
The way that you guys have been detangling your hair all of these years, you've been paralyzing your hair instead of making your hair more flexible. Because if you do it in a way that Simple Satin allows you to do it, or anything but Simple Satin, of course, shameless plug, if you use my oil and if you use my oil and botanically infused oil, for that it's a detangling oil. It is not for the scalp. It is to induce flexibility on the hair shaft to make the detangling process easier. So now that I said all that, right, when you are taking your braids down, so you've taken all of the braids out, right? You've taken all the braids out and stuff, and check around to you. I always tell people, when I was standing behind the chair and I took braids out, and I did not do it for free because I didn't do individual, so why would I be taking it out anyway? When I would do it, like I said, I would have a little bit of oil. I would either have a cotton ball, or I would just put it like on the tips of my fingers, and I would have their hair, that braid or whatever part I was on, saturated in oil, and then I would move along, and then I would take the braids out. Why? Because oil is a sealant. These aren't things that I'm making up. This is in theory. Oil, or maybe this theory, it's a proven theory. Oil is a sealant. If you have high porosity hair, or if you have curly hair, why is your hair breaking so much when you're detangling it? It's breaking so much when you're detangling it because it's snagging. Why? Because there's no sealant. It's everywhere. It's all over the place. So if I put a sealant on the hair as I'm detangling it, what am I going to do? If there's a sealant on it, it's a little harder for hair to snag. If the human cuticle is open, right, and your hair is wild because it's been in braids and you're detangling it, you would need to seal as many of these individual strands as you possibly can to make the hair stronger. What do you think is sealing the hair's cuticle more? You spraying your hair down with water and conditioner? Or you using the oil? These are the types of things that I need you to think about, and you don't have to take my word for it. I just want you to think about it at its core, right? Because regardless of how you feel about your patterns and your routines that you've stuck to, when things fall off, when things have to be done away with, sometimes it hurts. Like, I redid my website. Go check out the new Simple Apothecary. But when I did my website over that previous website that I had that website my entire career. I've had that website longer. No, not longer. Probably about the same amount of time me and my husband been married. So probably about 16 years. I've had that website for 16 years, but because I had it for so long, it was so crowded and stuff, and I had to move on. And now here we go. So you guys, again, make sure you check it out. But when we're talking about the whole detangling process and detangling our hair and breaking our hair and combing our hair wet, listen, if y'all want to argue about stuff that's already been proven scientifically, y'all can do that. But everything that I say can be fact checked, and even if you don't need fact check because you have your own intellect, think about the things that I said. Think about flexibility versus being paralyzed. Think about being flexible versus being paralyzed, and tell me which one do you think is a more feasible scenario to be in. Would you rather be flexible, or would you rather be paralyzed and unable to defend yourself so you easy to take advantage of? Which one? You would just simply, again, put a little bit of oil on your hair. What I would do, especially as I'm sitting there maybe watching TV while I'm taking my braids down, and I just take a little bit of oil. You don't have to put puddles. Stop putting puddles of oil in your hair. Stop doing that. Because if you touching your hair and the oils and stuff is on your hands, that means it's not on your hair. It didn't do anything. You shouldn't be dripping products. That's not a thing. You're wasting money, and that's nobody's fault but yours. Do not cry about the prices of products when you pouring them in puddles in your hair. You don't care about the money that much if you're pouring the money on the floor. The majority of the product be on y'all shirt. It don't even be in your hair. It be on your shirt. So you want to take a little bit of it, rub it into the area wherever the knot is, wherever the tangle is, rub it in a downward motion. You want to work in co-creation with your body. So if you're working in co-creation with your body, that means you need to work along with your body. If your body is naturally made to always start right, left in co-creation, you start in right, left. You're not going to throw it off and start going left, right, because then you'll throw the body systems off. Work in co-creation, right? So once you put it on, I always say let it sit for like 5 to 15 minutes, right? And then once you let it sit for a minute, this is just to loosen the cuticle up, to soften it up. Remember, your hair has been braided. Most likely you've had edge control and all types of things on it. Simple satin, specifically the complex, the herbal complex, and some of the essential oils that are there, they break up the buildup and the fatty deposits. So that's why I say about 5 to 15 minutes. And then after that, you're just gonna comb it out from the ends to the roots. The detangling process is so simplistic, and I can promise you, you will notice half of the density. If you come across the knot, if you go to comb through something and it's hard to get through, don't yank the comb through the hair. That's when the hair breaks off. Your hair isn't coming off on its own. Your hair comes off because you're combing your hair, you detangle, you get to a part where the comb can't get through, and instead of you putting the comb down and going back to an oil and separating it with your fingers a little bit and then going back to the comb and finishing combing, you just keep pushing the comb through until it comes through. That's when the hair breaks. Your hair isn't breaking on its own. Your hair is breaking because you combing, you get to resistance, and instead of you getting to the resistance and putting the comb down and making the hair a little bit more flexible, you force the comb through the hair. And when you force the comb, you're like, oh, this made it easier. This make it so much easier to come through my hair. No, it didn't. Your hair is paralyzed. It can't fight back. So when you go like that for the resistance, your hair doesn't fight you back because it's paralyzed. But if your hair is dry and you run into a knot and you try to put the comb through it, it's not gonna go through. Why? Because it's not paralyzed. It has flexibility and resistance. But when you add water, you break the hydrogen bond, you paralyze the hair. It's paralyzed. It has no resistance. That's why you can comb through it. It's not easier to detangle. It's a fact. And when you stop doing that, you end up retaining length. That is one of the many different things within the Braiding code that makes it so when you really understand the full complexity of the human body, you set the foundation good, and everything in your body, your scalp, your guts, everything in your body's ecosystem is running on the same cycle. And then so protective styles can be amazing just to give your hair a little break, right? Oh girl, I love me a good sew-in. But when you leave it in for too long, there's a really not thin at all. There's a non-existent line between protection and scalp and hair shaft neglect. And this is a case of scalp and hair shaft neglect, and I'm gonna start calling HPS on y'all. HSPS. Yep, I'm gonna start calling HSPS on y'all. HSPS is hair and scalp protective services. I'm gonna start calling HSPS on all of y'all, okay? That's gonna be a thing. So hashtag call HSPS on these people for all of the abuse that y'all are putting y'all hair and scalp through. And this is the thing, because dermatologists, trichologists, and cosmetologists that care about the human scalp everywhere, we are constantly dealing with these things, and we care about the scalps everywhere. And y'all women don't care nothing about y'all scalps, and I've been saying it for a long time. So now, today in 2026, what is gonna happen is I am going to start a petition, and I'm gonna roam this petition all around. Make sure you head over to my website. Oh yeah, by the way, I dropped some new tracks over there on my website, so go check it out. All of my AI little funny videos, like if you don't go watch your ass, that song and a whole bunch of other ones are over on my new website, so make sure you go check it out. It's so fun over there. I love it. But anyway, y'all gotta go on with the bullshit, okay? I don't want to hear it, because at the end of the day, this ain't no protective style no more. This is a funeral home. This is hoarding. This is hoarders. This is a graveyard. You know how many dead Demodex Mites babies just falling out everywhere? Y'all nasty. It's filthy McNasty, and I don't care. And I know for the people who have mental battles and like different stuff like that, I ain't talking about y'all. I'm not talking about y'all, but I did hair for over a decade, and every time you see a dusty woman, not calling these women dusty, but every time you see a dusty woman that's like that, it was like, oh my god, you never know mental health. I did hair for over a decade, and out of every woman that ever came in with a nasty ass weave like that, she ain't never had no mental problems. She was mentally lazy. That was her mental problem. She had a physical problem. She didn't want to physically move. No parts. Her fingers, her toes, her arms, nothing. She didn't want to move it.